Hello, and welcome to another episode of FactsMatter. Today, we're tackling one of the most controversial topics in American politics, voter fraud. And I'm going to show you what the data actually says. Today, President Trump said Republicans should nationalize the voting, take over elections in at least 15 places. He specifically named three cities: Atlanta, Detroit, Philadelphia. He's been making these claims for years, but here's the question nobody asks. Is it rigged when you lose, but not rigged when you win? Think about it. Atlanta, Detroit, Philadelphia, these same cities with the same voting machines, the same election officials, the same systems, voted in elections Trump won. In 2016, he won Michigan and Pennsylvania. In 2024, he won again. No fraud claims then, only when he loses or maybe even expect to lose. You don't get to pick when the election is rigged. Either the system works or it doesn't. So let's look at what the data actually shows. Voter fraud, what the data actually shows. Not opinions, not spin, not what either party wants you to believe, just the numbers. Let's go. Part one, how common is voter fraud? Let's look at the documented cases versus the claims. I'm going to start with a conservative source, the Heritage Foundation. They actively want to find voter fraud. They maintain a database of every proven case they can document. What did they find? About 1,400 proven cases of voter fraud. Sounds like a lot, right? But here's the catch. That's over decades of elections, from the 1970s through the 2020s. Total votes cast over that period, billions. The fraud rate works out to far below 0.01%. Even the people looking for fraud can only find a tiny fraction of a percent. What about mail-in ballots? The thing everyone worries about. Brookings Institute analyzed mail voter mail voting across four elections: 2016, 2018, 2020, and 2022. The fraud rate, you can see it on the screen, 0.00043%. That's four cases per 10 million mail ballots. Four per 10 million. That's not widespread. That's practically non existent. Part two, what types of fraud actually occur? When fraud does happen, rarely, what does it look like? Here's what the cases actually look like. More common, and I use this word loosely because we're still talking about tiny numbers, are mail ballot issues, registration fraud with false information, and double voting where someone votes in two states. But here's the key: in person impersonation, someone walking into a polling place pretending to be you, is extremely rare. Only a handful of cases over many years. That's the type of fraud voter ID laws are supposed to stop, but it barely exists. Part 3. What did the investigations actually find after 2020? There were audits, court cases, and DOJ investigations. What were the results? The Arizona audit, Maricopa County, conducted by cyber ninjas, a group hired by Trump allies. A group hired by Trump allies. They expected to find massive fraud. What did they actually find? Biden's margin was larger than originally counted. Let that sink in. The audit run by Trump supporters confirmed Biden won. Let me repeat that. The audit run by Trump supporters confirmed Biden won. Not by less, but by more. Georgia, multiple accounts, a statewide hand count, 296 complaints investigated by the Secretary of State. Result: Biden's victory confirmed. No systematic fraud found. And remember, Georgia has a Republican governor and a Republican Secretary of State. They certified Biden's win twice. These aren't Democrats covering for Democrats. These are Republicans saying there was no fraud. The court cases. Trump and his allies filed roughly 60 lawsuits challenging the 2020 results. Nearly all were dismissed or ruled against. Why? Lack of evidence, lack of standing, filed too late or under incorrect legal theories. Not a single one proved large scale fraud in court. Dozens of chances, zero proof that held up to judicial scrutiny. And then there's this: Trump's own Attorney General, William Barr, a lawyer Republican appointed by Trump himself, told the Associated Press in December 2020, "We have not seen fraud on a scale that could have effected a different outcome in the election, even under a Republican president who was loudly alleging fraud." His own Justice Department said they didn't find it. Look at the pattern. 2016, Trump wins. The system works. 2020, Trump loses. Rigged, fraud, stolen. 2024, Trump wins again. The system works. Same cities, same voting machines, same election officials. The only variable is whether he won or lost. You don't get to pick when the election is rigged. Now, for balance, let's talk about the other side. Democrats raise concerns about voter suppression. What does the data show? Between 2014 and 2016, about 16 million voters were purged from the rolls. Purge rates were higher in states after Voting Rights Act oversight was weakened. So here's a comparison. Proven fraud cases affect hundreds of people over decades. Voter purges affects millions. I'm not saying which is worse. I'm saying both issues deserve attention. And the data should drive the conversation, not partisan narratives. The data. Here's the bottom line: voter fraud does exist, but it's extremely rare. About 1,400 proven cases over decades out of billions of votes. Every 2020 audit confirmed the results, even the ones run by Trump allies. 60 court cases, nearly all dismissed for lack of evidence. Trump's own Attorney General said no fraud on a scale that could change the outcome. That's the data. It's all about the data. What you do with it is up to you. I'm talking about the data. What you do with it, is up to you. The data don't lie. Either the system works or it doesn't. You don't get to pick when it's rigged based on whether your side won. The same machines, the same officials, the same cities. They've been running elections for decades. Trump won with them, Biden won with them, Trump won again with them. The data says the system works. Imperfectly, but it works. The data doesn't care about your feelings. If you don't like the numbers, that's your problem, not the data's. If you want more videos like this, data over spin, facts over narratives, subscribe because facts matter. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for visiting the channel. Be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.